and dwelt near between Kadesh and Shur, and sojourned in Gerar. And Abraham said of Sarah, his wife, she is my sister. Have you heard that one before? And now, I have used this, I've pronounced this word Abimelech for a long time. And then I looked it up today, how it's supposed to be pronounced. So I will try and see if I can change my thinking to how it's supposed to be pronounced. And it's supposed to be pronounced Abimelech. Abimelech. So we'll see if we can, I don't know which one we'll use. But it's good. But God came to Abimelech in a dream by night and said unto him, Behold, thou art a dead man. Let me rephrase that. He came to him in a dream and said, Behold, the bed shook, the earth shook, Abimelech shook, and thou art but a dead man. That'll wake a person up. And he said, For the woman which thou hast taken, for she is a man's wife. And Abimelech had not come near her, and he said, Lord, wilt thou slay also a righteous nation? Said he not unto me, She is my sister? And even she herself said, He's my brother. In the integrity of my heart and the innocency of my hands have I done this. And God said unto him in a dream, Yea, I know that thou didst this in the integrity of thy heart. For I also withheld thee from sinning against me. Therefore suffer I thee not to touch her. Now therefore restore his wife, for he is a prophet, and he shall pray for thee, and thou shalt live. If thou restore her not, know thou that thou shalt surely die, thou and all that are thine. It's kind of serious. Therefore Abimelech rose early in the morning and called all his servants. Now, you can imagine how early. And called all his servants and told them all these things in their ears, and the men were afraid. And Abimelech called Abraham and said unto him, What hast thou done unto us? What have I offended thee, that thou hast brought on me and my kingdom a great sin? Thou hast done deeds unto me that ought not to be done. And Abimelech said unto Abraham, What sayest thou, that thou hast done this thing? Abraham is a mystery sometimes. Abraham is when he did this one time when he went to Egypt, about 20 years earlier. I think it was somewhere around Genesis 13. And he did this when he went into Egypt. Now, I can a little bit understand maybe when he went into Egypt, they were 20 years younger. I understand Sarah's 90 years old at this time. But there's a lot more going on here in this text than just that. Not only did Abraham go into Egypt and God had to take care of him and Sarah. And ladies, you have to love Sarah. She's just, okay, whatever you say, honey. You know, and you know, I mean, believe me, it's a little different back then than it is today. And another thing we have to understand here is that this was not an uncommon thing. And if you look back at the life of Solomon, for example, what would happen back in those days, kings would take the daughter of other kings, and that joined their nations together. They had a relationship now. And so they wouldn't war against one another. Of course, Solomon took 700 of them, and that might have been a little more than was necessary. But it appears to have been something even in the days of Abraham, and this is like 2000 BC. These are things that happened. And so get the history up to date. Abraham has what has just happened in chapter 19? We have the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah, the cities of the plains. But in the first part of chapter 19, we have something else that's very, very, very important. Remember? We talked about it a little bit last week. In the first part of chapter 19, God, for the first time, tells Abraham that Sarah is going to give him a boy. Now, he's been told all along that he's going to have a child. He's going to have an inheritance to give to one of his children. He's been told about all of this. It's going to be passed down. His seed is going to be as the stars in heaven or the sand of the sea. He's been told this all along. He knew he's going to have an inheritance, and he thought that this little deal that they had played with a handmaid would work out for him. But God said, no, that isn't what's going to happen. Sarah is going to have a child, a son for you. And then we go down and we find that they have destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, and you know all the story. I'm not going to mention the other man's name. It starts with an L. But Abraham now has packed up all of his people. Now, Abraham, if you remember, probably has a couple thousand people handling a very large herd of sheep and cattle. Abraham had just earlier in chapter 14, I think, was it? 14, anyways, had just went to battle against Chedorlaomer, if you remember that, who had come over from Babylon with 4 other kings, or 3 other kings, and had come around the east side of the Jordan River, down under the Dead Sea and back up, and had taken captive the cities of the plains, the people and all the things, and they took the man with an L's name with him. And